People talk about artificial intelligence as if it lives somewhere weightless and invisible. It doesn't. Every answer from a chatbot begins in a real building, packed with chips and connected to the local power grid. Increasingly, those buildings are turning up beside farms, highways, and residential neighborhoods. Gallup recently asked Americans whether they would support an AI data center in their area. 71% opposed it. In the same survey, opposition to a nearby nuclear power plant was only 53%. So America finds itself in a strange position. It wants the economic and strategic benefits of AI, while much of the public would rather keep the necessary infrastructure somewhere else. From the road, a data center often looks like an oversized warehouse with no windows. The complicated parts sit inside and around it. Thousands of high-powered chips, cooling equipment, backup generators, substations, and heavy electrical connections. The machines run day and night. Their heat has to be removed continuously, and even a short interruption in power can be expensive. A large new campus may therefore need more than a building permit. It may also require new transformers, transmission equipment, water infrastructure, or its own power supply. That demand is growing quickly. The International Energy Agency says global data center electricity use rose 17% in 2025. The 5 largest technology companies spent more than $400 billion that year, much of it driven by the race to build AI infrastructure. These numbers sound abstract until a project is proposed across the road from somebody's home. Gallup asked opponents what bothered them. Their answers were practical. Half mentioned the use of local resources. Water and electricity appeared most often. Other answers included noise, pollution, traffic, loss of farmland, and the possibility of higher utility bills. The effect depends heavily on the location and the design. A facility using recycled water in a cool, wet region is not the same as one drawing fresh water in a dry farming area. A company that pays for a new substation presents a different deal from one whose connection costs may eventually reach other customers. The trouble is that residents rarely receive all of those details at the beginning. A project may arrive with a large investment figure and an estimate of construction jobs, while the water source, expected noise, and long-term electricity demand remain buried in technical documents. People then start asking fairly basic questions. How much will the facility use? Who is paying for the upgrades? How many jobs remain once construction is finished? And what happens if the original forecasts are wrong? Those questions are difficult to answer with a press release. Pew Research Center found that Americans who had heard a lot about data centers tended to view them more negatively than people who had heard only a little. Among that more aware group, 67% believed data centers were bad for household energy costs. 63% said the same about their environmental impact. That doesn't mean every concern is accurate, and awareness is not the same as technical expertise. It does suggest that public resistance cannot simply be dismissed as fear of unfamiliar technology. The coalitions forming around these projects are also unusual. Environmental campaigners worried about water may find themselves on the same side as conservative landowners protecting farms. Homeowners concerned about noise can end up beside activists opposing corporate tax breaks. National arguments about AI are ideological. Local arguments about a proposed building tend to be much more concrete. The dispute has already moved into planning offices and election campaigns. Communities have demanded additional environmental reviews, delayed approvals, and proposed tighter limits on where data centers can be built. Campaigners in Ohio have gathered signatures for a statewide referendum. Candidates in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have made the issue part of their campaigns. In rural Texas, planned projects have caused friction inside communities that normally welcome new business. The complaints reported across these places are similar. Developers reveal too little, too late, while residents are expected to accept years of construction and a permanent change to the landscape. For a long time, developers chose sites by studying available land, fiber connections, and electricity. Local consent is now becoming just as important to the schedule. There are good reasons some towns still want these projects. Construction creates jobs. An operating campus can add technical positions and a valuable new source of tax revenue. In Gallup's survey, 2/3 of supporters pointed to economic benefits, with employment leading the list. Large customers can also finance infrastructure that a region needs anyway. Demand from technology companies is supporting new investment in power generation, batteries, water recycling, and grid equipment. Rejecting every proposal would carry its own cost. The facilities would not disappear. Many would move to another state or another country. That could mean losing investment without reducing the global demand for power and computing. The outcome depends on the agreement made for each site. Residents need to know what the company will build, what it will pay for, and what protections remain in place after the opening ceremony. AI companies are used to competing for engineers and chips. Now they are competing for something they cannot manufacture: public acceptance. Winning it will require more than a promise that a project is good for innovation. Communities will want numbers they can check: expected electricity demand, water consumption, permanent jobs, tax incentives, and responsibility for grid upgrades. Some projects will survive that scrutiny. Others probably shouldn't. Over the next few years, a significant part of America's AI build-out will be decided in county offices, public hearings, and ordinary conversations between neighbors. The companies that treat those meetings as an obstacle may discover that delays cost more than transparency would have. AI still needs enormous amounts of physical infrastructure. The question is whether the people living beside it believe they are getting a fair deal. Right now, most of them don't. For more stories about the physical systems behind the AI economy, subscribe to Black Box Atlas.